What's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. This one we're going to be breaking down more of the marketing principles, things that just make you better when it comes to connecting with the people that you're speaking with, right? And one of the biggest things that we want to make sure you have throughout the entire pitch is called CPR, which is creating personal relationships. That is a big part because people are going to buy into you before they buy into the product. If they don't like you, they don't want to hear what you have to say. If they like you, then they're going to listen, and if what you say makes sense, then of course they're going to buy into it. So the first thing I'm looking to sell is myself. I have to sell myself as a good person, a decent person, an excited person to do business with or be around, and then the customers are going to lend me an ear to be able to get into more. Now, some people are naturally gifted at this. They can talk to a wall if you let them. I mean, that's awesome, but not everybody is like that. And I don't think you have to be like that in order to be good at sales. You just have to learn it first and know how to strategically use it. So the way I think about CPR is like the only other time you hear about CPR is resuscitation, right? It's like someone passed out, someone's drowning, whatever, you give them resuscitation. So I kind of look at it the same way, just in a less severe version when it comes to sales. Like the CPR is like my lifeline of the sale. This is how I resuscitate my sale. I want to get someone excited about me. If the more I use CPR, the more interested the person is going to be in what I'm talking about overall. So there's 5 different ways that we do that, right? So I have the breakdown in here. We use the acronym FORMS. So the first one is for family and friends. Those are things that I want to talk about, right? Because I don't just want to talk about just random stuff, but I also can't just say, hey, talk to the customer about whatever. Because like I said, some people are not that good at that. They're not good at sparking up a conversation from scratch, right? So we kind of give like a guideline on doing that. But I also don't want people to talk to customers about inappropriate things either, because that can really lower the professionalism level, and it's going to kind of kill your sale. But just overall, you're presenting yourself and the clients in a terrible way. But first, family and friends, right? You can talk about people's families, their kids, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, whoever is closest to them, especially when someone has a kid next to them. That's like the easiest in ever. Be nice to the kid, be excited to see the kid, because kids are the easiest person to excite. If you excite the kids, obviously the parents are going to be more interested in speaking with you as well, right? But family and friends. The next one's occupation. I want to talk to people about what they do for a living. Some people love what they do, and right, and like whatever they enjoy talking about is what I'm going to talk about. You have to remember, when it comes to CPR, it's less about you and more about them. The more I can get them speaking, right, the more excited they are. The more I'm speaking, the less excited they are, right? The goal is to be interested, not interesting, right? If an interesting person is always talking about themselves, I this, I that, I this, I that. Interested, I want to be interested in what they're saying, who they are, what they're about, and things like that, right? So I'm definitely asking about occupation. All right, I see you running some scrubs today. What do you do for work? Right? Or if I'm at somebody's business, I'm like, how long you been a business owner? What got you to do this, right? Obviously, being an entrepreneur is really uncertain and things like that. There's a lot of downside, there's a lot of upside as well. How are you able to navigate that? People love talking about that, because if someone's opened up a business and it's been over 2 years already, they're already better than 80% of businesses, because 80% of businesses go out of business within the first year and a half or so. So I want to make sure, 50%. 50% of businesses go out of business in the first year and a half. I already have something excited to talk about, right? And they're going to be excited to go over that because they're going to feel like a winner. The next one's recreation. What do they like doing for fun, especially when you talk to people who are from different areas? What made you move down here? What's the coolest thing you've done down here? What do you do on the weekends and things like that? And like asking people questions that they're going to tell you more of the things that they do for fun. If I see someone wearing a shirt that's maybe from an event that they went to, I'm going to talk about that, right? And get a little bit more into it. And then motivation, things that excite them, especially when you do business to business. Like, it's easy to find what excites people. Sometimes you go into their facility, you're in a lawyer's office, you'll see like, certain teams, pictures and stuff like that. Clearly that person, they really care about their sports, whether it doesn't matter what sport it is. I'm going to learn about that. So my rule is, if you don't know about something, don't act like you do. But I'm interested in it because the customer is interested in it. So if I don't know about it, I'm just going to let them educate me, right? What got you into judo, right? If I don't know about judo, I'm not going to start talking about judo. I'm just going to ask them what got you into that. And then they start talking about it, because clearly if it's on their wall, that's something they can hold a conversation about, right? And the last part is sports, shopping, and school, right? I talk about sports all day, right? Especially if you're in the South or in the Northeast, people are really adamant about their sports in these parts of the country. So you can always spark up a conversation. People are passionate about their teams, their college team, their professional teams. Doesn't matter what sport. So if I see any kind of memorabilia that has to do with their teams, I'm definitely going into a conversation with that. Shopping, depending on what city city you're in. Most big cities, people love shopping, right? So I can always talk about that. If I see them wearing maybe a brand that I recognize or something like that, I can go on about that. If I see them driving, maybe a car parked in front of their business that's a really nice car, I can also go on about that as well. And then the last part is school. School spirit is a big thing, right? Like when you go to college, it's almost like you get inducted into this group of people who are just really passionate about that college. And, right now the company is in Atlanta, Georgia, and no one plays about the Bulldogs, right? The Bulldogs are the thing. And I'm sure, we've ran several trips to places like Alabama. No one plays about their Roll Tide over there. People are really passionate about their local schools and things like that. So I can always start up a conversation about that. And what I say is when it comes to sports, you can go either way, right? I don't have to side with the consumer. I can just pick another side, right? The opposite side. When I talk to people who are Roll Tide, I'm like, Bulldogs all day. Then they, get them routed up and stuff like that. Sports fans, they really love that. So you can, of course, get into that, but school, sports, and shopping, right? But that's the formula. These are all things that you can spark up a conversation in. What you don't want to do, though, is just bounce from one thing to the next to the next. That's not a good conversation. A good conversationally is piggybacking, right? So I'm piggybacking off of a conversation and using something from that to talk about another thing and piggyback from there to another thing. I don't want to like popcorn the conversation and talk about a lot of different things all at once. You just don't seem genuine during the conversation. You seem like you're starting a conversation just to start one, but you're not really interested in the person. So I definitely want to make sure I'm doing that very strategically as well, and I'm continuing the conversation and sounds so I make the entire process sound very natural, right? But as long as you use this, you have no problem keeping the customer's interest throughout the entire duration of your sales process. All right, I'll see you in the next video.